Welcome everybody to December 3rd, 2018's Motivation Monday for this morning. What we're going to do here is we are going to go through and learn in regards to our 5 fundamental sales principles for the day. What we've been actually looking at over the past week is we've been looking at some general tips and some general basic tips in regards to really kind of getting back to basics. And the main reason why we got back to basics is because of the fact that, we're right in the middle of the AEP season, we're right in the middle of the OEP season, and we really kind of just want to look at some general basic ways that we can learn to effectively communicate and some basic fundamental sales principles in and of itself as well. So with that said, what we're going to actually do today is we're going to kind of take a look at those 5 fundamental sales principles, and those sales principles being out of the 5 top things that we can take into this is that we actually take a look at this and we look at this and we've pulled these principles out of a really, really popular book that's out there. And these principles, the main principle on this is enthusiasm in general. And the way that enthusiasm tops the list is if you actually come into any sort of a sales environment or any sort of sale in general, enthusiasm, just by having it yourself, it'll actually help you overcome your overall fears. And I know that that's kind of an interesting principle in and of itself, but the way that enthusiasm works is that if you actually can maintain a positive mindset and a positive mind frame and a positive frame of mind in regards to going into the sale, it actually allows you to overcome that fear in general. And then the main thing that it actually does is it affects others because it itself is infectious. And the reason being is because just the psychology and the principle behind that, it actually is able to be transferable to other individuals. And the main reason that is transferable is because that positive energy is actually able to be given to others. Now, what's actually happening here in regards to the overall top 5 sales fundamental sales principles is that aspect of just having a positive emotion moves into the second principle, and that principle being your attitude. One of the quotes here in regards to the second principle is that sales are contingent upon the attitude of the salesperson and not the prospect. And that is really the heart of the entire second principle here. And the main reason why that is that if you take a look at that first principle of the enthusiasm aspect, if you utilize attitude as the second aspect, those go hand in hand. In general, your brain is like a computer. So, every time that you're putting good stuff in, you're going to be getting good stuff out. But if you do put bad stuff in, you're going to get bad stuff out. And this is why one of the things is that, I generally don't watch normal television, nor do I watch local news, because the way the TV and news works, I can tell you exactly what's going to happen is that unfortunately somebody got shot, there was a house fire, and it's very possible that maybe the stock market was up or down. Oh, and the weather could possibly be cold, but it might also be hot. Right there, that's the news in general. There's no reason to watch any of that because 95% of it's going to be negative anyway. So the main reason that you always want to look at having a positive attitude is in the aspect of it entirely takes the full principle of each individual sale and it allows your emotions to be transferable into that sale. And that's why enthusiasm and attitude are the top 2. Now, the actual third aspect of this entire sales technique is something that I find very, very encouraging. And interestingly enough, it's to actually stop selling insurance. And I know that depending upon if you're with the AHCP team or with our cover team or other entities, there's always some aspect of this floating around in the industries that, you don't really want to be selling insurance. You want to be selling the problem. So what you really want to do is you want to utilize this actual fundamental and you want to look at your client's issues. So you want to forget basically everything in regards to what you know about sales. All that this really entails is asking questions and then asking more questions and then finding out what they want as an individual and helping them get it. Now, the main reason why this is actually, in my opinion, one of the most, I could actually put this in the first spot versus enthusiasm and attitude. But really, you have to have a positive attitude and a positive enthusiasm going into the process anyway, before you get into the fundamental of actually selling the product and actually trying to find out what the actual problem is that they need to have solved, right? So while this is one of my personal favorites, it is in its proper place here within the third aspect. Now, the fourth fundamental of this is to look at the whole process as a system, and you want to utilize the entire process as your system. So you need to have a system in and of itself to be able to allow yourself to sell a product. So you can't just go into this and looking at something and just maybe applying 3 or 4 different techniques. You want to make sure that you use a system that is a focused system. Generally speaking, you want to focus on one product in one market. You don't want to necessarily be selling health insurance at the same time that you're selling, automobile insurance. Why? The main reason why is because you can focus on one specific product and one market, because things can get sidetracked, and what will happen when they get sidetracked is you're going to end up in bad shape as a result of it. So it's really super important to stay focused in the entire process. One of the most interesting things out of this is if you take a look at some of the statistics out there, is the way that the numbers actually break down is that there's about 36% of us utilizing no sales process whatsoever. 42% are actually utilizing a process, but they actually don't follow it. So if you add those numbers up and you're looking at it, that's about 80% of the individual's agents within whatever market that you're referring to. That means that only 20% of the workforce is making up 80% of the sales for those other 80%. So while that's actually a tremendous number to look at in and of itself, the main reason why is because those 20% are utilizing a system, and it is a focused system. The last fundamental that we're looking at, of course, is to make calls. There is really overall no easy way to sell insurance. The easiest way to sell insurance is to pick up the phone, and the key to that is to make those calls. Nothing's really ever going to happen until you pick up the phone and make that call. And if you look at it, when somebody's actually in a slump, those slumps are actually the result of the phone being not picked up any longer, and the calls are stopping. So if you're looking at somebody and they say, man, I've been in a slump for this whole week. Well, have you continued to make calls? No, I've been kind of depressed, and I'm not really feeling it. Well, the main reason why is because those calls are stopping, and that's actually what is holding that back. Very, very pertinent last quote here in regards to the analogy of the chicken and the pig. The actual overall anecdote of the pig and chicken walking down the road, come across a billboard showing, that wonderful $3.99 sausage and egg breakfast. And the chicken says, well, that's a really great deal. We need to totally stop and get some breakfast. And the pig goes, well, I think I'm going to pass on that. Well, why would you pass up an offer that's so good? And the pig responds, well, for you, it's just a small contribution, but for me, that's a lifelong commitment. And that's the actual key to that, is that you do need to make a lifelong commitment for that. Now, are you a chicken or a pig? Or even from what they want to look at, a pig wannabe in that aspect. So you really want to stay committed, want to make sure that you're always using enthusiasm, make sure that you have a positive attitude and a positive mind frame when you go into that. Make sure you're always utilizing a system and don't stop making calls. So again, my apologies if there was any sort of technical issue at the beginning there. If you weren't able to hear me, or if you were, I deeply apologize. We will have this entire broadcast and the entire PowerPoint presentation available online shortly. But if you do have any questions, reach out to training@ahcpsales.com, or you can reach out to agency services at 877-228-8773. And again, remember, do not be afraid to have a door closing behind you. It does have the potential to be your last. So I wish everybody an amazing Monday. I hope that the rest of this week goes well. I want you to everybody get out there and kill it for the rest of this week. Cheers, everybody.